other class had all their kids. But Mrs. Gandy's room was totally empty. And you know why? Because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark. And they never came back.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, we're going to be looking at the newest film from Zach Cregger, who was the mind behind the twisted and tormented Barbarian from a couple of years ago. And now he is bringing a new original horror picture to the cinema in Weapons. In a small, close-knit American town, where everyone seems to know everyone else's business, fear and panic strike when on a random evening a group of children, all belonging to the same class and all at the exact same time, run from their homes, disappearing into the darkness. Parents, teachers, and police have no clue where they are or what caused this, and so their investigation deepens. Just from that premise alone, I was totally sold on Weapons. The concept of all of these kids waking up in the middle of the night, disappearing without a trace, you can't help but hear that pitch and lean in, already invested in the mystery that has laid out its foundations. Where are the kids gone? What have caused them to all simultaneously disappear? And that premise came out like before the trailer. I think it started coming through around CinemaCon time, and it was when I heard that, at that moment, I was locked in. Plus, I really liked what Cregger had to offer with Barbarian. Now, admittedly, I had some issues with the latter half of the film, but I think he proved himself extremely talented with crafting atmosphere and laying out the foundations of a compelling mystery. Fortunately, the same goes for Weapons. The overall story structure and central mystery, working as the film's core component, is the strongest aspect of the film. And due to the screenplay being told in a chaptered structure, each chapter being told from the perspective of one of the characters, you are being given revelations in a deliberately gradual sense. So you're not getting all of the answers in one giant exposition dump. The film relies on you piecing the information that you learned towards the beginning of the film and how that can carry over into something that you learn later on. I will hesitate to say that the film is ever particularly scary, but there's undeniable creepy imagery, and I think because it is such an intense mystery at its core, also it throws in some pretty gnarly, gory moments too, and as the gore fiend that I am, I'm never gonna turn my nose up at that. Furthering its chances of success are a strong ensemble too. You've got Juliet Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Josh Brolin, all giving really strong performances as people who are just wanting to find the answers. They're being haunted and plagued by this looming mystery, and you feel like their life simply cannot continue until there are answers to be found. But it's Austin Abrams who plays, similar to like Justin Long was in Barbarian, quite a despicable character, but a character that comes along at the right time to add in some needed levity as a desperate and quite loathsome junkie. Sadly, though, whilst we are circling the topic of levity and comedy, Weapons has some pretty unconventional scares. I think that's probably the best way to word it. And I think that they are scares that in a wider audience, people are gonna probably find quite chucklesome. Partially because, you know, you're being scared. Some people's natural response is to laugh about that. But also, there are moments in the film where the atmosphere has done such a good job of just building and building that intensity that when these scares come along, well, scares, and they are somewhat comedic in nature, it undoes a lot of that tension that has been built up. It's not treated per se as a funny moment, but the imagery, you can't help but find it a little goofy. Personally speaking, especially in the final moments of the film, and without giving anything away, the resolution, I think they made the wrong call. It wasn't the right tone that I personally think the film should have gone for. And just like Barbarian, Weapons does a tremendous job of really establishing and laying out the groundwork for this mystery, so you can't help but be invested as you watch it unfold. The issue is that I think it builds it up to such an extent that no matter what the answer is or what the revelation is gonna come, it will, and unfortunately in this case does, leave you dissatisfied. Even though Weapons ends nowhere near as strong as it began, and the overall payoff simply wasn't as rewarding as the mystery had built it to be, I still feel like championing Zach Cregger's latest film because of its originality, and that's something that should be commended not just for the horror genre, but also to see a film like this receive such a strong studio backing. Weapons probably won't leave you scared, but I'm confident that you will be invested to see where things go. So overall, I'm going to give Weapons a 6 out of 10. Anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on Weapons. Let me know, have you had the chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, now this is Zach Cregger's second horror feature film, and he's definitely a horror filmmaker that I want to see more of. So my question to you is, who is another horror filmmaker out there who may be in the start of making their name in the scene that you definitely want to see more of? If I were to pick, I really want to see some more from Jennifer Kent. She was the director of The Babadook. She did a kind of revenge thriller called The Nightingale, but she's got such a clear authorial voice behind the camera, and I'd love to see what she could do in the horror genre again. But that is all the time we have for today, so thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.